Recording sucks. Hey guys. Hey, hi, how's it going? I wish I could be more enthusiastic, but summer is kicking my butt. I feel like every time I watch somebody else's YouTube channel, we all, regardless of the subject that we're covering, we all seem to talk about the weather first. So Lordy knows I don't want to. Oh my God, look at my furrow. Lordy knows that I don't want to break that convention. I think it was like 38 degrees today, but not very sunny. So that was a slight reprieve. No exciting weather news, but there's a whole bunch of non-weather stuff happening in my brain that I want to share. I can't get the angle of this right. It's my tablet and it's fighting me, and that's frustrating. Okay, I think I got it. All right, so here's the deal. I've been trying to push through the rest of chapter 2 of HSK3. So this is going to be a reading video. It's going to be part soul bearing, and it's going to be part trying to see where the problem is. I can't figure this out while I'm studying, so I want to use my conversation with you to try to figure out why I keep hitting this wall. So the soul bearing is, I was reading, again, I'm using the transcripts, and I think it shows up okay on the tablet here. So I'm using the transcripts to as the primary thing that it gets me to read more in HSK3. I'm using it to pull out the grammar bits, which is really demotivating me, and I might actually stop that and figure out another method for that. I'm using it for the vocabulary, to identify what vocabulary I don't know yet, and all kinds of things. Like, I'm using the transcripts a lot more than I was in the previous ones, and I'm liking that because so far this week I've touched these transcripts anywhere from 2 to 3 times depending on the exercise that I've done. There's 4, 3, 4. Yeah, part 4. There's 4 different listening exercises so far in HSK3. I'm not looking at the test yet. I was going to do a practice test the first week, and I was really burnt out from the HSK2 prep and the HSK2 test, so I'm not going to rush it. The earliest I will take the test is December, and that's looking less and less likely by the 2nd. But honestly, if I can push through and gain my momentum back, I think that's still possible. But I'm going more for the breakthrough moment that I've been waiting for. Or should I say a breakthrough moment that I've been waiting for? Because I think it's right here. The amount of frustration that I feel with reading, leads me to believe that my breakthrough moment is so close. Like, I don't know if you guys have experienced this. I've experienced this. I don't want to say all of math because a lot of math was easy early on, but I want to say in the second part of calculus. I want to say I experienced this definitely with computer coding. I have never broken through with languages, as ridiculously unfluent as I've been. I have had moments where I was using language freely, but certainly not fluently or understandably. Really, really ridiculous, like 1 word, 2 words shoved together without any respect to how it's actually used. I know that's not my goal at all. That's the far extreme of vocabulary is important, grammar isn't, and that's not where I live. So I'm trying to think of something else. There's something else I've done. I guess Pilates on some level, but clearly many, many years ago, before all my medical crap started. So there's been a few different things in my life where I felt were this difficult, and just when I thought I was going to give up because I was just not making any progress at all, boom, a big breakthrough happens, and suddenly I realize I'm doing it. I still have a lot to learn, but the initial pain has subsided. And I feel like that's exactly where I am with reading. And it's super strange, and you'll see in a minute because I'm going to try to flip the camera around. Let's see if that actually works. No, I think I just took a picture of myself instead of flipping the camera around. Oh gosh, I might have to do this in 2 parts. Okay. Why do they make technology that doesn't work the way you want it to? All right, so let me explain the psychological / unmotivating parts, and then I will record a second video to accompany this one, and that one will be me showing you the reading that I'm having, and I'm going to try to read for you and for me, and I'm going to try to figure out what the biggest obstacles are. Are the biggest obstacles the grammar, the vocabulary, the speed, the spacing, which I've always had a problem with, or something else that I'm not even seeing. I have a feeling I'm still a little shell-shocked moving from Pinyin and Hanzi together to just the Hanzi, and it could just be that. I don't know. All I know is my motivation level has absolutely plummeted. My enthusiasm for this project and my enthusiasm, and thank God I started those interviews with people that are using the language on a very, very high level. I thank you to the universe for sending me message. I don't want to sound too airy-fairy, but for sending me messages that needed to be a project, because that right now, with my motivation level really low and with me hitting walls and feeling like I'm not progressing at all in HSK3, like really not at all. I really needed those people in my life right now to really be guideposts for what could happen in the very distant future. At this point, it feels like I'm on a spaceship and they're like light years away, and not on the warp speed kind of thing, but like on the slow pace where you won't see another human for like 6 years. Like, that's how long it feels like it'll take me to get to those folks' level. But you know what? In talking to them and talking about the language and the language process, I feel like I can get there. Like, that's how inspiring these folks are. And I'm sorry, I'm assuming that you've watched videos before, which is a really dangerous assumption. I have a podcast that I just started. It's the same name. It's Changing Scripts. And it is where I'm interviewing both sides of the Chinese language, people coming from outside of the Chinese language and learning it to get inside the language, and people coming from within the language, people who grew up with Chinese, studying other languages or using other languages. Because some people study language, some people just start using language, some people study language and then use language. So I'm playing with the two words, because people aren't studying languages their whole life. A lot of people get to a point where they're using it. And they might be studying, like looking up a few things, but people don't generally study a language for a long stretch. Like, you study to a point and then you just start using it, right? I've never gotten to that point, but I think that's what I'm hearing from people, is that you study to a point and then your usage actually takes over and has the built-in reviews and challenges and those kinds of things. So I don't know, maybe that's the point of this video. Maybe. But the point for me was today, as I was trying to read this, and I just had a flash. But I'll tell you the depressing part first. As I was trying to read this, I was listening to the listening track and following along, and I'll tell you, it's easier to follow along because there's a lot more words that I know than don't know. So even if they're going kind of fast, I can listen for the words I know and scan for those in the sentence and know that the things in there I don't know must be these characters that make up that word that I don't know. So in that sense, it's getting easier. I can identify word boundaries in listening easier-ish. I can find the words in the transcript because I know the words around them. So that's easier. But the speed at which they do the HSK3 listening is extremely overwhelming. And this is where I'm going to pause for a second, because I want to play it for you. Because those of you that are using the language, maybe you can tell me how sped up or normal or slowed down this is. And I want you to be completely honest. I'm going to find one that I absolutely positively thought was really, really fast. And I want you to honestly tell me, is this a normal speed or is this still exaggeratedly slow for learners kind of speed? If it's slow, I will cry, but I'll get over it, and the reality will help me in the future. But I do want your thoughts on this. So hold on one second. Let me go grab my other device. Okay, so this is HSK 3, Chapter 2, number 14 in the listening. And I'll just play it. No, I'll play it both times because they'll play it both times. There's a man, a woman, and a narrator who says the question. So that's the 3 sentences that are happening. But especially the woman, like the man talks first, then the woman, then the narrator. The woman's sentence is just super fast for my ears. So again, is this normal speed? Is this a slow learning speed? Or is this too fast? Which I doubt. But here we go. I'm going to play it twice.
你考得真好，是怎么学的？
我每天学习，你到了家就玩电脑游戏、睡觉，不看书，能学好吗？关于男的，可以知道什么？14。
你考得真好，是怎么学的？
我每天学习，你到了家就玩电脑游戏、睡觉，不看书，能学好吗？关于男的，可以知道什么？
Okay, so that's it. And then let me show you the text that goes along with that. I hope this shows up right. I haven't been paying attention to if this shows up correctly or incorrectly. So number 14. So it's these 3 here. Can you see that? Okay, so that's the text. All right, so as I was trying to work through these, and I'm not doing, like I used to do all of the listening each time I touched the listening, because it used to be 3 sections. I think it was 5 questions each. But now it's 4 questions, 5 questions each, only Hansa characters, and I feel like they've sped up the listening a lot and increased everything in difficulty. So I'm just doing 1 a day. So this week it's taken me 4 different times to go through the 4 exercises, which is why I'm doing 1 chapter a week. So that's working well. But as I was listening and reading along, and I was listening to each exercise maybe 4 or 5 times, just trying to get the speed of the language, the intonation, the words, the sounds, because the sounds of some of the new words I don't have yet. This is where I'm getting the sound of the language with the new vocabulary. So I'm trying to connect how it looks and how it sounds by using this. And that seems to be working fine. But as far as, like, there's an exercise with this. It's not just the transcript, right? I'm using the transcript for more than that. Actually, I don't have the exercise over here. But there's for number 14, it was a pick the right answer kind of thing. So they would have the question, which you heard, and then they have 3 different answers, and you have to pick the right answer. So it's still A, B, and C. You can still guess. You can still, like, luckily pass the test, I suppose, if you were a good guesser. But my goal with any test, especially a test I'm using to really, really increase my vocabulary level, is to understand the content. And I just kept hitting these walls where I'm like, I recognize some words, I don't recognize other words, or I recognize a lot of words, but I still don't know what the hell they're saying. Like, I still don't get what this conversation's about. Now, this particular conversation, like the first part, see, I can't even read a lot of it. And I want to save this for I think in part 2 of this video, I'll use that example to show you how awful I'm doing on this. So, the thing I wanted to focus on was that I had these memories of struggling with reading when I was a child. And I don't know exactly why that happened. I can guess a number of reasons, but I don't know for sure. I definitely don't know for sure. I know that I remember being surprised by the sounds of some of the things we were learning, because we did a lot of phonetics when I was a child. I was a child in the 70s. Language, even first language, was taught very explicitly. And I think that went away with the next generation of kids that went after me. But for us, we were taught, like, every single sound for every consonant, every vowel. Then later on in elementary, junior high, and high school, we diagrammed out sentences in English class. Like we did a lot of explicit language learning. We learned a lot of grammar rules and all that kind of stuff. That could be why I have a severe hate for grammar, because I don't feel like any of that stuff made word usage better for me, of grammar usage better for me. I feel like the explicit instruction, although it might be useful to a second language learner because they've got a language to hang that on, as a first language learner and a child, most of that time, it felt like all that stuff was making me self-conscious about trying to communicate instead of actually just communicating. And it was very different than the stuff I was reading for fun once I got past my writing glitch. Like that stuff inspired me. The words and how people were writing to get emotions across and to develop worlds that were fantastic and wonderful, where people were doing amazing things and really enjoying each other's company. Those kinds of things that I was reading about were really inspiring. And those things inspired me to write my own stuff. But the grammar stuff and the learning how to accurately construct a sentence in a way that took out all of the fun of writing, that stuff I hated. But it's not the writing part I want to talk about today. It's the reading part. I remember being not shocked, but surprised by some of the sounds that I was hearing as we were explicitly learning the sounds as a child. And especially remember, I think I mentioned this before, we were reading in a circle in like second grade or something, and there was a passage about countries or something like that. I zoned out and I used to do little puppet thingies above my book because I was so bored with the content of the stuff we were reading. I think my teachers thought I was stupid because I was zoned out, but I was seriously bored. I was like, this stuff is for kids. And I was a kid, but mentally I wanted more from what we were reading than what we were reading. And so it just wasn't stuff that I clicked with. And it got to my turn because each kid was reading a sentence, right? And it got to my turn, and the teacher said, Europe, start with the sentence that starts with Europe. And I was, of course, as a child, despite the fact that my parents were from Europe, I don't remember if this is first or second grade now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, I remember desperately looking for the sentence, because I knew sentences started after a period or after exclamation mark or question mark. So I was like quickly scanning, and I was looking for a word that started with the U. And the kids around me were saying, Europe, Europe, Europe. And I'm looking, and there was nothing on the page. There was no new sentence that started with Europe. And I just kind of started freaking out and going closer inside. And I literally was like closing the book in on me because I was so embarrassed that I couldn't find this word that clearly started with a U. And then I think the teacher came over, which now that I'm thinking about it, I really wish one of the kids next to me would have just pointed to it. But the teacher got up from her chair at the front of the room, came over to my side of the circle, and pointed to where I was supposed to start. Now, in retrospect, it's good that Europe was at the beginning of the sentence, because if I had Europe in the middle of the sentence, clearly thinking it started with a U, I wouldn't have been able to pronounce it. But it was one of those things where the sound I was hearing around me at home and what I was reading, there was a huge disconnect. And maybe this happens to kids that don't grow up with a different language at home. I don't know. I know my parents used English with my siblings and I, but they used Italian with each other, and my mom used, I was going to say Arabic. It's not Arabic. Albanian with her family. And so there were a bunch of languages around me. I don't know if that's why I had a problem reading, but I know that there was a big disconnect between sounds and the written language, like a big disconnect. Clearly, I went past this because I turned into a bookworm rather quickly and escaped into books and got inspired by books and tried to write books later on. And just, I mean, I really, really became enamored with writers, and that has not stopped. With writers and writing and what can be done with the written word. I really, really love that now. But I really struggled. I remember these things happening over and over and over again when I first learned to read. And all of these things and the anxiety I didn't remember that clearly came back to me today as I was struggling through reading this. Reading these really simple, kind of silly sentences. Again, The content's not exciting when I can understand them. It sounds like they're talking about like going to this place or is somebody there? No, I'm sorry, they're not here. Maybe you should call them. It's that kind of conversation. Not terribly exciting, but the script is so fascinating to me that I want to push through and I want to get to the meaning so I can read interesting stuff with this interesting script. But I have this huge wall. And I feel like, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I feel like I'm about to break through the wall. No great wall, pun intended. It just happens to be there. But I feel like it's huge, and all of this previous reading pain just flooded back through me. And I'm just trying to complete my task for the day, because I've tasked out what I want to do each day to a degree. At least time-wise, I want to do this much time with flashcards, this much time with listening, this much time with going through and glancing at the grammar and that kind of thing. So I've tasked it out so I don't have any question. Did I complete my language learning for the day? There's clear goals. But all of this stuff just kept coming out. And I just was like, okay, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? What I know that language learning is frustrating, but I was not anticipating getting emotional over not being able to read. Like with reading, you just keep doing it until it works, until it clicks, until you can read it. You keep it's a skill, right? I've taught this skill. I've broken down this skill and taught people to read really complex stuff when they start out really at a basic level. You do tasks and you get to the goal. And yet, for some reason, pushing through it is so hard for me. I know this is a difficult script. But the stuff that came in my way today had nothing to do with the script. I still was smiling when I recognized ones that were playful and fun. And when I realized that dwebitri and dwe had the same dwe, I was like, oh my God, it's been a year and a half. Those are the two words that I've used for years in Chinese, but not known what they look like. And today when I realized that they had a character in common, I just went, oh boy. That's really cool that it finally happened, and it's really funny that it's never happened before. But so there's moments like that that are really playful and fun and interesting, and then all this stuff just came right at me. And I really wonder, are there first language pain things that come back to people when they're learning a second language? Does it remind us of the initial difficulties that we had, if we had any? And I'm going into we because, again, this project isn't just about me. It's about people like me that don't learn languages well, don't learn languages quickly, or stop because of so many different walls that come up, and there's so much more to life that's easier than this. So it's not just about me, but for today it felt really, really about little me. Like years and years, like 40 years ago me. Like I remember reading in second, third grade, like by then I had already become a bookworm and would come back from the library with a stack of books. So, I mean, this didn't last that long in my first language. This struggle couldn't have been years and years long because I was reading by myself, like extensively. Like my parents used to get worried because I was in my room so long reading, kind of thing. Like they'd check in on me to make sure I was still alive, kind of thing. Like that's how much I love to read once I got past this. But today, all I could remember was the initial pain. And I hate this because languages are so interesting and so wonderful and so fascinating and such a gateway into cultures. And yet all I could do today was feel that pain. And I pushed through. I completed this listening. I completed the hardest reading. And I got 3 out of 5. out of the hardest reading. And oh my God, the hardest reading is just a wall of Hansa. And it was really difficult, but it was ABC. So I did my best and I just completed it because I know a couple of weeks from now I'll come back and I'll understand so much more of it. And I just need to do it the first time. And I'm glad I got those habits in HSK1 and HSK2 because today it was just such a huge emotional wall. And I did not see this coming. And I was sitting in a coffee shop having really good coffee in this really pretty, wonderful coffee shop. There was a breeze with the door right next to me. It was really a peaceful, wonderful environment. And all I could do is think of all these difficulties I had when I first learned to read. It was just like a wave of shit. And I don't know. Does this happen to anybody else? I don't know. I've never really, I've seen children struggle with this when I was teaching that first year when I taught children. I saw children struggle with this. But I don't know. I don't know what to say about this anymore. So I pushed past it today, but this seems to be building. I mean, I suppose it'll build until it breaks. This is a really weird position for my neck. But anyway, I'm assuming the pressure is going to build until it breaks because it just can't get worse. The frustration and difficulty of switching to just Hansa, which I thought I was ready for, I'm not. So all cockiness is gone after HSK2. Me saying, oh, that's fine. I really wanted to be all in Hansa. Okay, it's hard. It's hard. No matter how much I covered up the pinyin in the other two sections, it's really, really challenging to read this. It just is. So I'm feeling the pain. I'm feeling the past pain and the present pain at the same time. But because I've set up this channel and the interviews on the podcast, and I've gotten people involved in knowing that I'm doing this, there's no backing out. There's moving forward slowly, as I do. There's getting stuck and getting unstuck, but there's no stopping. And that was the point of creating these projects, is that come hell or high water, I'm going to get there. But I am so surprised by what happened today. I did not see this coming. I am emotional about many things in the world. I did not think language pain was one of them. I really didn't. I thought I always saw reading as a good thing, as an escape, as an inspiration, as a joy, as an opening up of worlds. I don't remember, until today, I didn't remember a lot of the pain that came before that wonderful part. All right, this is a ridiculously long video, but I'm going to move on to the practical part where I try to read and we try to figure out why it's so hard to switch over to just Hansa. I may not come to a conclusion, but this is part 1 of 2. I will post part 1 and part 2 at the same time. I thank you for watching this, and if you have any similar experiences, please either leave a comment below or contact me via social media or email me, because this is a pretty emotional topic and I can understand you not wanting to be visible talking about this, but honestly, I would feel so much better if even one person in the world agrees with me on this. I'll just put my email in the comments below because I don't think I can say more than one more sentence right now. I'm going to move on to the second video so I can be methodical and get over this, because that's the only way I know how to trudge forward at this point. Satyam!